Hello, beautiful people. My name is Rishi Doble, and I welcome you all to this awesome series, Cure Your P, that is quickly revise your physics. So, before beginning, I would like to advise you all to be present with a pen and a paper so that you write down all the things that I explain along the way. Before beginning, a little bit about myself. I am a first year student at IIT Kharagpur Mechanical Engineering 5-year dual degree course. I got a JEE Advanced rank of 3406, a JEE Mains rank of 9093, and a KVPY SX rank of 1586. So, without any further ado, let us begin with the episode 1 Kinematics.
So, before we begin with the chapter, we should all have the prerequisite knowledge of scalars and vectors as well as derivatives. Let us begin. Let us start with the common terminology used in the chapter. First is the distance, or d. It is the length of the actual path covered. The second is the displacement, or x. It is the distance in a straight line between the final and the initial position. The SI unit is in meters. Let me show you an example. This is point A and this is point B. The semicircular path that I traveled is nothing but the distance, or d, and the straight line between A and B is the displacement, or x. The next is speed, or small s. It is the rate of change of distance with time. S is equal to delta d upon delta t, that is the change in the distance upon change in time. Its SI unit is meter per second. Now velocity, or small v, it is the speed with a particular direction. It is the ratio of displacement with time, or the rate of change of displacement with time. Now the velocity magnitude is given by the change in the magnitude of the displacement upon change in time. And v instantaneous, that is the instantaneous velocity, is given by dx by dt. Acceleration, or small a, it is the rate of change of velocity with time. This is also a vector quantity. Its SI unit is meter per second square. Now the magnitude of acceleration is given by dv by dt, or change in the magnitude of velocity upon change in time. Let us now talk about the equations of motion. Now these equations, mind you, are for uniform accelerated motion. Before that, let me define some quantities. V is equal to the final velocity. U is the initial velocity. T is time. X is the displacement. Mind you, x is the displacement and a is the acceleration. The first equation of motion is final velocity, or v, is equal to u plus at. The second is x is equal to ut plus half at square. And the third is v square minus u square is equal to 2ax. Now mind you folks, this is only applicable for uniformly accelerated motion. Now these equations are for the non-uniformly accelerated motions. The first one is v is equal to dx by dt. Quite simple. The second is a is equal to dv by dt, or d2x upon dt square, that is differentiating the x twice. The third is again a is equal to dv by dt, but we will change it up a little bit, multiplying and dividing by dx. We can see that this quantity is nothing but v is equal to dx by dt. Therefore, we can say that a is equal to v into dv by dx. This is especially useful in cases when the velocity is given in terms of x, or the displacement. One of the most important parts of this chapter is understanding the sign convention. It helps to easily figure out the problems. Let me divide this into 4 quadrants. Just like the coordinate axis, the right side is positive, the upside is positive, and the downside is negative, and the left side is also negative. This can be used like Suppose for acceleration due to gravity, g is always taken to be negative. G is equal to always minus 9.8 meter per second square or minus 10 meter per second square, whatever is given in the question. This helps to easy out the problems. Suppose the displacement is upwards, so we can take h is positive. And similarly, if the displacement is downwards, we can take h as negative. Let us now talk about the graphs in kinematics. We will be mainly talking about three graphs. Those are the xt graph, the vt graph, and the at graph. The first case is when the body is at rest. So its position will not vary with time. It is constant. And the velocity is zero in that case. Since the velocity is zero, it is imperative that the acceleration is also zero. Second case is when the body is in constant motion. So the xt graph of such a body is linearly dependent on the time, and the slope of the graph or tan theta is equal to the velocity of the body. The vt graph is constant with time because the velocity never changes, and since the velocity never changes, the acceleration remains zero. The third case is when the body is in constant acceleration. So the vt graph becomes linearly with time. The slope of the graph for tan theta is equal to the acceleration. The at graph is constant with time because the acceleration never changes. And the xt graph is parabolic in nature, depending whether the a or the acceleration is positive or negative. When the acceleration is positive, the parabola is upward facing. But when the acceleration is negative, the parabola is downward facing. Let us now discuss about the dynamics of a projectile motion. On the right, I have shown a figure of a typical projectile moving in its parabolic path. The components of the speed of the projectile are u cos theta along the x-axis and u sin theta along the y-axis, with the acceleration due to gravity acting downwards. Let us talk about the time of flight of a projectile. In the y direction, the total displacement of the projectile is zero because it first moves upwards and then comes back to the same level. Since y is equal to 0, using the second equation of motion, y is equal to u sin theta, or the speed in the y direction, into t minus half gt square, because acceleration due to gravity acts downwards. Since it is 0, so t into u sin theta minus half gt. On the rearrangement, we can see that the time of flight, or small t, is equal to 2u sin theta divided by g. Number 2. Let us talk about the maximum height reached by the projectile. In this situation, let us take 2 points. This is point A, this is point B, that is the highest point. This is h max. So from point A to point B, let me use the third equation of motion, that is vy square, that is the final velocity in y direction, minus uy square, that is the initial velocity. Now this initial velocity is u sin theta. This is equal to 2a h. H is h max. Now since the final velocity vy is 0, vy is 0. Therefore, minus u square sine square theta is equal to minus 2gh. Why minus? Because the acceleration due to gravity acts downwards, and we have seen it in the sign convention part. So this minus minus sign gets cancelled, and you are left with h is equal to u square sine square theta by 2g. Number 3, the range. Now the range is the distance traveled by the projectile in the x direction. This distance is the range. We all know that the acceleration in the x direction is 0. So range is simply equal to ux into t. T is the time of flight and ux is the horizontal component of the speed of the projectile, that is u cos theta. Therefore, r is equal to u cos theta into 2u sin theta upon g. We all know the trigonometric formula, that is sin 2 theta. Let me write sin 2 theta is equal to 2 sin theta cos theta. We can see the same expression in this case, that is cos theta and 2 sin theta. So we can combine these two and we can write r is equal to u square sin 2 theta upon g. Pretty simple to understand. Another point to note over here is that the range for the angle of elevation theta and 90 minus theta is same, something which you can check on your own. Number 4, the equation of the trajectory. Now this is similar to the equation we study in maths for the various curves. We can say that x is equal to u cos theta into t, because there is no acceleration in the x axis, and y is equal to u sin theta t minus half gt square, using the second equation of motion. We can say that t is equal to x upon u cos theta. Let this be equation 1, this be equation 2. Now using 2, I can say that y is equal to u sin theta into x upon u cos theta minus half g into x upon u cos theta whole squared. Let me go to the blank screen. On rearranging, I can say that y is equal to x tan theta minus gx square divided by 2u square cos square theta. And this, people, is the equation of trajectory. Now these are some of the facts that are really important to remember. Fact number 1. Kinetic energy of the whole motion is half mu square. But at the topmost point B, we know that the Vy is 0. The vertical component of the speed is 0, but the horizontal component remains the same, that is u cos theta. So kinetic energy at the top is equal to half m into u cos theta whole squared. This is equal to half m u square into cos square theta. We can see the relation. K top is equal to Ke or K initial into cos square theta. And the second fact is that the range, or R, is equal to 4 cot theta into h. This is an exercise, I leave it upon you. Let us now talk about the basics of circular motion. Number 1, the angular displacement. It is the angle of rotation that a body revolves around a fixed point. In this example, the body goes from point A to point B. Let the circle be of radius r, the angle of rotation theta, and the linear displacement as s. So therefore s is equal to r theta. Quite an important relationship. Number 2, the angular velocity. It is the rate of change of angular displacement. This is also a vector quantity, quite similar to velocity. So omega, or angular velocity, is equal to d theta by dt. Now omega is also equal to v by r, where v is the linear velocity. Another important relationship, vectorially v is equal to omega cross r, and hence omega also has a direction. Number 3, the time period. It is the time in which the particle executes one revolution. So capital T is equal to 2 pi by omega. Also, another quantity that is defined is frequency, and frequency is equal to 1 by t, that is the number of revolutions a particle executes in 1 minute. Number 4, the angular acceleration. Now, the angular acceleration is defined as the rate of change of angular velocity with time, that is d omega by dt, or it can be also written as d2 theta upon dt square. Its SI unit is radian per second square. Now, there are 3 types of angular accelerations. The first being centripetal acceleration. Now, the centripetal acceleration is given by v square by r, or r omega square, where v is the instantaneous velocity, linear velocity. Second is the tangential acceleration. Now, the tangential acceleration is equal to the change of speed with respect to time, the change of magnitude of velocity with respect to time. And the third is the resultant acceleration. Let me show you. Let this be a circular motion and the body is at here. The tangential acceleration is defined by at, which is tangentially or perpendicular to the radius of the circle. Centripetal acceleration is always towards the center of the circle. It is radially inward. And the resultant of these two is the resultant acceleration. This is AC and this is AT. The resultant of these two will form the resultant acceleration. So the magnitude of AR is equal to AC square plus AT square. There are 2 types of circular motions. The first is the uniform circular motion. In this case, the tangential acceleration is equal to 0, but the centripetal acceleration cannot be 0, otherwise it cannot perform a circular motion. In this case, it covers equal angles in equal intervals of time. The second is the non-uniform circular motion. In this case, the tangential acceleration is not 0 and the centripetal acceleration is also not 0. Here, it covers unequal angles in equal intervals of time. So people, relative motion is the last topic of this chapter. So let us begin. Relative motion in one dimension is quite simple to understand. Let this be object A moving with velocity VA with respect to ground. And this is object B moving with velocity VB. So the velocity of B as observed by A, or the velocity of B with respect to A, it is written as VBA. This is equal to velocity of B with respect to ground observer minus velocity of A, or VA. Now in 2 dimension, the situation becomes a little bit interesting. Let us understand. Now this is point O. This is object A. This is object B, and the scenario is same. We can understand it vectorially as well. So the velocity of B with respect to object A is equal to VBO, that is the velocity of B with respect to this point O, minus velocity of A with respect to point O. In most of the cases, O is nothing but origin. Let us take the case of a guy in rain. Let this be VR, that is the velocity of rain with respect to ground. Let this be the velocity of the person with respect to ground. And therefore, the velocity of rain as seen by the person is this. Vectorially we can see that VRP plus VP is nothing but VR. Therefore, we arrive at our conclusion that VRP or the velocity of rain with respect to the person is equal to VR minus VP. The case of the boat in the river. Suppose this is the river and the river is flowing in the right side. This is the normal to it. This is the velocity of the boat with respect to river. This is the velocity of the river, and therefore the velocity of the boat as seen from the ground is this one. Therefore, we can say that VBR plus VR is equal to VB vectorially. Let us take case 1, minimum drift distance, that is, the drift must be 0. Again, this is the river, this is point A, and point B is opposite to point A, that is, the drift distance is 0. So the boat adjusts its direction in such a way that the horizontal component, let us draw this is VR, VBR, and this is VB, let this be angle theta. So VBR sine theta, that is the horizontal component, should be equal to the velocity of the river, magnitude wise. Thus only the vertical component is left and there is no drift. Case 2, the minimum time to cross the river. Again, suppose this is the river and this is the starting point. To cross the river in minimum time, it must go perpendicular to it so that the maximum speed is focused on covering the minimum distance. Let this distance be d. So therefore, this is VBR, this is the velocity of the river, and thus the boat will reach somewhere over here at point B. This is point C, that is directly opposite to point A. So the time needed to reach point C is given as d upon VBR. This is something that will be given in the question, and thus the drift produced in this case is equal to VR magnitude into time t, and time t can be calculated from the above formula. So folks, that's it for today's episode of Courier P Kinematics. I hope you have revised your chapter efficiently, and remember, be limitless because you are limitless. All the best to all of you.